COP26 has been a failure. We need to phase out, not phase down subsidies. We need to fund adaptation and loss in the Global South. We need to
The outcome of COP26 is a compromise. I know you are disappointed.
Glasgow, was never going to be that we were going to come to Glasgow and everybody was going to have a decision that was somehow going to end the crisis.
I'm disappointed, as I've said, in terms of where we ended up, but nevertheless, we have got a historic agreement over the line.
We can't kid ourselves. We haven't beaten climate change, and it would be fatal to think that we have.
COP26 has been a failure. We need to phase out, not phase down subsidies. We need to fund adaptation and loss in the Global South.
This is a fragile win, and we have kept 1.5 alive. That was our overarching objective when we set off on this journey 2 years ago, taking on the role of the COP presidency designate. But I would still say that the pulse of 1.5 is weak. And that's why, whilst we have reached, I do believe, a historic agreement, what this will be judged on is not just the fact that countries have signed up, but it will be judged on whether they meet and deliver on the commitments. I'm disappointed, as I've said, in terms of where we ended up, but nevertheless, we have got a historic agreement over the line. I wish we'd been able to retain the language that was originally there. Nevertheless, we do have language on coal, we have language on phasing down of unabated coal, and I think very many people will welcome the fact that that at least has been achieved. Again, for the very first time in any one of these processes, loss and damage has appeared in the cover text. And that, again, I think demonstrates both the change in the way that people are approaching this, being more collegiate. And yes, there is a work programme. We will contribute to that. But I think the key issue is it has been recognised that loss and damage is an issue that deserves proper consideration, and that was shown here today. I think today we can say with credibility that we have kept 1.5 degrees within reach, but its pulse is weak. And it will only survive if we keep our promises, if we translate commitments into rapid action, and if we deliver on the expectations set out in this Glasgow Climate Pact to increase ambition to 2030 and beyond. History has been made here in Glasgow. And what we now need to ensure that the next chapter charts the success of the commitments that we have solemnly made together in the Glasgow Climate Pact. This Glasgow Climate Pact drives action on adaptation. It emphasizes the need to act. It sets a clear way forward on the global goal on adaptation, and it urges developed countries to at least double their collective climate finance for adaptation by 2025. It operationalizes the Santiago network on loss and damage, finally giving that issue the focus and attention it deserves.
The outcome of COP26 is a compromise. It reflects the interests, the contradictions, and the state of political will in the world today. It is an important step, but it's not enough. We must accelerate climate action to keep alive the goal of limiting global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees. It's time to go into emergency mode. We must end fossil fuel subsidies, phase out coal, put a price on carbon, protect vulnerable communities from the impacts of climate change, and make good on the $100 billion climate finance commitment to support developing countries. We did not achieve these goals at this conference, but we have some building blocks for progress. I want to send a message to young people, indigenous communities, women leaders, all those leading on climate action. I know you are disappointed. But the path of progress is not always a straight line. Sometimes there are detours. Sometimes there are ditches. But I know we can get there. We are in the fight of our lives, and this fight must be won. Never give up. Never retreat. Keep pushing forward. I am with you.
COP26. And of course, there's still a long way to go before we can say we've dealt with climate change. But the great news is, together, the world has made some important breakthroughs. We've kept alive the hope of restricting the growth in temperatures to 1.5 degrees. And we've made huge progress on coal, cars, cash, and trees. For the first time ever, we've got over 190 countries all agreeing to sound the death knell for coal power. And tonight, the developed world has finally acknowledged the need to help poor and vulnerable nations to deal with the loss and damage that's already being caused by climate change. Everyone has agreed that emissions targets need to keep getting tougher over the next decade and that we need to keep going faster to reach those targets. When the UK took over the presidency of COP, 30% of the world was signed up to net zero. Now we've got almost the entire world signed up, including all the biggest polluters. That means net zero carbon emissions from all these countries. We can't kid ourselves. We haven't beaten climate change, and it would be fatal to think that we have, because there is so much more that still needs to be done. But what we do have now is a viable roadmap. And if leaders, countries, businesses, people around the world now deliver on what has been solemnly promised in Glasgow, then we can get there.
Been operating within COVID restrictions, tested every day, and the people here deserve credit. Everybody who took part in this really worked hard.
And I want to ask you, how are you able to have such confidence that those billions this week who are seriously concerned, that those promises haven't been fulfilled in the past?
Part of America deeply says they are going to be producing only electric at that point in time. As a result of the announcements that have been made over the course of the last 2 weeks, we are, in fact, closer than we have ever been before to avoiding climate chaos and securing cleaner air, a safer water, and healthier planet because of this agreement. coal and the phase down of coal is on the books. It's part of the decision. And you have to phase down coal before you can, quote, end coal. Glasgow, was never going to be that we were going to come to Glasgow and everybody was going to have a decision that was somehow going to end the crisis or, automatically put us on the path we have to go. So I would say that, Paris built the arena and Glasgow starts the race. And tonight, the starting gun was fired.